Yeah, I wanted to talk, like last week I talked about the Suez Canal ritual, and I said there was more. I had more. I mean, I could have done 4 hours. And plus, there are members of the community who are very brilliant, very helpful, who just expanded it even more. So this is, I mean, I could do a whole week on this thing, several weeks. And plus, there was a new development yesterday. I didn't even see this coming. I was going to continue on my decode from last week. There was a new development. There was another ship stranded in the Suez Canal yesterday. But yeah, but I just wanted to mention real quick, as we've been talking about this year, especially with sports, has been the year of the GOAT. There's been a lot of GOAT rituals. It actually started near the end of last year, where one of the GOATs of, for those who don't know, in sports, GOAT stands for greatest of all time. Yeah, one of the GOATs of soccer, football, Diego Maradona, died near the end of last year. So that's actually where it started. And then you talked about it extensively,
Right.
with Tiger Woods, and then Wayne Gretzky's father, he's a GOAT of hockey. His father died of Parkinson's, and Parkinson's is a reference to Muhammad Ali because he's the most famous face of Parkinson's.
Right.
So it's with the exception of Tom Brady, this has not been a good year for goats. The other goat of soccer is Pele. And now what's interesting is there's been a lot of volcanic eruptions this year. In Iceland, volcanoes have gone off. Mount Etna in Italy has been going off. Well, actually, Pele is actually the name of a Hawaiian volcano goddess. So that's actually the name. Pele is actually related to volcanoes also. And also Pele, the soccer player, he got a vaccine for coronavirus, which that's not positive, but also he had the record for most goals scored. He had a goal scoring record, and he was passed last month by Cristiano Ronaldo of Portugal. He's Portuguese. He just passed Pele, so Pele, he's no longer number one in goal scoring. So that's another example of the GOAT ritual has not been positive for GOATs except for Tom Brady. There's a story where UConn's women's basketball player, Paige Beckers, they started throwing the GOAT word at her. She's only 19 years old. I think it was Suggs, I think of Gonzaga. I think he's from Minnesota or something. I think it was him. He called her the GOAT, and then they publicized that in the media. And Diana Taurasi, she's considered the GOAT of the WNBA, she said, yeah, Paige Beckers is better than she was at that age. Well, right when they called her the GOAT, she lost. A big upset. So GOAT has not been... just put an update on the GOAT, because GOAT will continue to be a theme. I mean, they're throwing it at a 19-year-old. I mean, come on. But it is like a curse because she lost right after they thrown the GOAT right at her. So, yeah, that's something to watch. So I guess the next GOAT, which everyone's focusing on, is Serena Williams. And will she get that record? And so, yeah, I just wanted to say that only one GOAT seems to be going positively for, and that's Tom Brady. Everybody else, GOAT is a curse. So, yeah, back to this canal ritual. My most recent post covered the epic ritual of the Ever Given container ship getting stuck in the Suez Canal on March 23rd this year. This was an epic and multi-layered ritual at a sacred historical site. The Sinai Peninsula is a sacred site and historical. Next to ancient Egypt, it's a major world center. So the Ever Given was refloated on March 29th, but just 9 days later, which is April 6th, which is yesterday, another merchant ship halted traffic through the Suez Canal. Now, this incident was much more brief, so it didn't cause major disruption, but nonetheless, it was part of an ongoing ritual. So on Tuesday, April 6, 2021, the oil tanker Rumford, it's registered to Italy, and Rumford doesn't sound like an Italian name, but the oil tanker is registered to Italy, named Rumford, had to be towed by a tugboat. They say the engine gave out. Another ship also had some problems, which is behind the Rumford. That also was a minor delay that it caused, but nonetheless, it is a follow-up blockage to the canal. And that was a Greek oil tanker that was behind the Rumford. Its name was Minerva Nike. So plenty of symbolism there. Uh, as I've often stressed, the Roman Empire never died. It only changed its facade. Part of its facade is the United States government that has its seat of power on Capitol Hill, just as Rome's seat of power was on Capitoline Hill. That is a brief example of how the United States is part of the New Rome. Capitoline Hill is a sacred site that also venerated the chief deities of the Roman Empire, known as the Capitoline Triad, which consisted of Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva. Jupiter is Zeus to the Greeks. The name of the canal pays homage to Jupiter / Zeus. Suez is Zeus, spelled backwards. The April 6th oil tanker incident pays further homage to the Capitoline Triad with the name of the ship Minerva. That name is also significant to the Bavarian Illuminati because their initiates at the apprentice level, the initiate level, they were called Minervals. So that, and the symbol is an owl. We see a lot of owl symbolism. I've talked about that, and that's a whole decode unto itself. But here again, it's the owl symbol which has come up in multiple incidents. I last talked about it at the Nashville, Tennessee Christmas Day bombing, where it occurred on the street with a Hooters restaurant, and they have an owl as its symbol. So, yeah, it's an ongoing theme, the owl. Well, that's a reference to Minerva, one of the Capitoline Triad. Example that the Roman deities are still being venerated. So the logo for Minerva Marine, which is the company that I think they were chartering the ship. I don't know if they own it or charter it, but it features an owl in their logo. So that removes any doubt that it might be another Minerva. No, this is the Minerva they're referring to. So Rome is the new Babylon. So the gods of Rome are inherited from Babylon. It's the same gods. And Babylon inherited those gods from ancient Sumer. So the gods of ancient Sumer are still being venerated today. Specifically, the gods who prevailed in the War of the Gods, led by chief deity Enlil, who is Elil in Babylon. To Babylon, they call him Elil. He was originally in Sumer called Enlil. But that is also Zeus, who the canal is named after, to Greece, and Jupiter to Rome. The sin in Sinai, the Suez Canal cuts to part of the top of the Sinai Peninsula. Sin is the name of a son of Enlil, the moon god Sin. So the lineage of Enlil is still being venerated. Enlil had other sons who were second and third in command to himself. Since ancient gods are aligned with planets, Enlil is aligned with Jupiter. His son, Ninurta, also known as Ningirsu, is his second in command after Enlil. And Ninurta Ningirsu represents the planet Mars. Ninurta is a warrior and a farmer, just as the Roman god Mars is a warrior and a farmer. Rome got it from Sumer originally. Wikipedia associates Ninurta with Saturn, but multiple parties more accurately associate Ninurta with Mars. When Wikipedia says it, there are multiple scholars who say, or even just researchers who say, no, Ninurta is Mars, not Saturn. He's described exactly the same as Mars is. Enlil has another son. This is his third in command. His name is Nergal, or Nirgal, who is also a warrior. And he also represents the planet Mars. So he has two sons that represent Mars. That's Ninurta and Nergal. Their distinction between Ninurta and Nergal is made through the zodiac. The planet Mars rules the signs of Aries and Scorpio. Ningirsu or Ninurta is Mars in Aries. Nergal is Mars in Scorpio. And I show a picture of this is from Wikipedia, a relief from Mesopotamia showing Nergal, and you can see two scorpions on top of him and below him, and he's a warrior. So clearly that's a reference to Scorpio. So he is Mars in Scorpio. And Ninurta is Mars in Aries. So, yeah, Mars is the Roman god of war and the son of Jupiter. And Jupiter is Enlil. So it all lines up. The Suez Canal ship grounding rituals, one layer of it, there are multiple layers to it, but one of the layers is Mars, who is Ninurta and Nergal. Hillary Clinton's name came up in the decode. Clearly she was, for some reason, coded into it. Not for the reason QAnon says. I mean, maybe it is, but there's no proof so far. QAnon says there were child trafficking. So far, QAnon hasn't offered proof. Maybe there is, but until there's proof, you can't really say that's the reason. But she's clearly coded into the ritual. And the main element is the fact that the company named Evergreen, whose name was most vivid in the incident, Evergreen is Hillary Clinton's Secret Service code name. Also, the ship's call sign was H3RC, which contains Hillary Rodham Clinton's initials, HRC. Multiple news outlets use the same phrase, quote, "she's free," in reporting that the Ever Given was refloated. She is free is a super match in Gematria with Hillary on 3 out of 4 base ciphers. The Suez Canal Ever Given incident coincided with the Roman Hilaria festival. Hilaria sounds, same as Hillary. Well, the Hilaria festival was observed from March 22nd through March 25th, which coincides with exactly the time of the Canal incident. The grounding of the Ever Given happened on March 23rd in 2021, a date with 67 numerology. This is relevant to Hillary Clinton because she was the 67th United States Secretary of State. But the most significant fact about Hillary Clinton to this ritual is the fact that she is a Scorpio. And Scorpio represents Mars. This is a Mars ritual, and that's, as far as I can see, the main reason Hillary Clinton is coded into it. As I mentioned in my previous article, Mount Sinai, after which the Sinai Peninsula is named, is on the same parallel, the 28th parallel, as Mount Everest, the tallest mountain in the world. You have the holiest mountain in the world and the tallest mountain in the world on the same parallel. What are the odds of that? So the person given credit for having been the first to climb to its summit is Edmund Percival Hillary, for another Hillary reference. Now, people named Percival, as he is, are nicknamed Percy. Percy is short for Percival. But Percy is also the nickname of NASA's Mars rover Perseverance. The rover Perseverance is also nicknamed Percy. Which is supposed to have landed on Mars on February 18th this year. That's in the news now, the Mars rover named Percy. Meanwhile, Edmund Percy Hillary is related to this. So there's more of the Mars coding through Hillary. Also, the current president of Egypt, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, is a Scorpio, also born November 19th. What's an interesting last name, el-Sisi? Make you think of St. Francis of el-Sisi. This sounds, it does sound similar to that. I'm pretty sure that's not a coincidence. But yeah, he's the president of Egypt. It's a Scorpio, born November 19th. The Suez Canal was inaugurated in 1869 on a date in Scorpio on November 17th. So you could say that the Suez Canal itself is a Scorpio because that was his birthday, November 17th. And Mars is the god of war. The god of war in Gematria sums to 44 and 127. The inauguration day of the Suez Canal, November 17th, leaves 44 days in the year. from the most recent anniversary of the inauguration of the Suez Canal. You could say the Suez Canal's birthday, most recent birthday, November 17th, 2020, to the ever-given grounding, March 23rd. There's a 127-day span, counting all days, beginning and end. Again, 127, the Gematria of God of War. So, yeah, that lines up really well. And that's also how you see the multiple ciphers in Gematria being used in a ritual. With God of War being both 44 and 127, both those numbers coordinate with the dates. So as I stated earlier, Mars, the God of War, the Suez Canal, and this latest incident pay homage to Mars. Also note that Hillary Clinton's biggest political Achilles heel was her support as a New York senator for the 2003 Iraq War. So Hillary supported the 2003 Iraq War. Was a key position that distinguished.
Rambo, I was just going to say, the God of War 127 I never noticed before. And it just makes me think of how on 9/11 it was buildings 1, 2, and 7, and that was called the New Pearl Harbor, and Pearl Harbor happened on December 7th, 127. And then I remember Suez Canal's 102, like World Wars 102 and Art of Wars 102, translated by the Jesuits. And again, the blockage ended 102 days after the Pope's birthday. So I just had to share that, my thought on that 127 there. And don't forget, 9/11, they said the attack lasted 102 minutes, and it was simulated on June 1st, 102 days before the attack, on a federal, printout with Osama bin Laden's face on the cover sheet. So that God of War is really interesting. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and 9/11 happened on a Tuesday.
That's right. The day of the week named after Mars, the God of War. Yeah, that goes together really well.
Yeah. Yes, and you have to look, where does this go back to? God of War, according to Rome, but where did Rome get it from? Rome got it goes back to Babylon, which got it from Sumer. It all goes back to Sumer. This is Ningisu and Nergal, who are the two sons of Enlil, who represent Mars, so represent Aries and Scorpio. I mean, whether these are actual physical entities or just entities who identify that, or they're just using the zodiac, and these are just symbols of the zodiac. You can again, it's up to somebody to determine what they think that is, but they are clearly using the Sumerian gods for the rituals that we see today. So Hillary is being a Scorpio ruled by Mars. It turns out that her Achilles heel politically has been her support for the 2003 Iraq War. Like her position supporting the war distinguished her from Barack Obama in the 2008 Democratic Party presidential election, where that was, they're pretty much identical on every issue except for that. That's part of the one thing that separated him from Hillary was. He wasn't in office, so it's easy to be anti-war when you're not in, a major office. He wasn't a senator at the time, so it was easy. And same with Donald Trump. He wasn't in office either. Donald Trump was outspoken against the war, but again, he wasn't in office either. It's easy to be against the war when you're out of office. So Obama and Trump were anti-war, and they both used that against Hillary Clinton when they ran against her. And that's been her biggest Achilles heel in preventing her from being president, was her support for the war. How appropriate for a Scorpio.
Right.
So, yeah. So the Suez Canal, more associated with the realm of war, and for this I have to give credit to Anthony C. Davison. He's in the UK, very brilliant decoder. I put a link on his name. His name links to his Twitter. He has very good decodes on Twitter. He's also on Free to Find Truth platform. He's very brilliant. Anthony C. Davison. He brought up this point. The Suez Canal, how the Suez Canal is associated with war, because in 1956, there was the Suez Crisis, also known as the Second Arab-Israeli War. And Gematria links the 2001 supertanker grounding, that's the ever given, called supertanker, with the Suez Crisis of 1956, the Second Arab-Israeli War.
Rambo, pause right there because the news is coming on. Quick break, everybody. We'll be right back.
All right.
Censorship and regulation is becoming an ever-growing problem in today's modern media. From the mainstream to YouTube and Google, the information you're looking for is buried by official narratives and propaganda. This is why TFR is 100% uncensored, unregulated, and listener-supported. The shows on TFR are not micromanaged by the station, and our hosts are free to speak their minds however they please. As such, the views and opinions expressed on our station are of those who make them. If you happen to hear anything offensive on TFR, please send us an email to toughtitty@tfrlive.com, and we'll be happy to tell you that we really don't give a damn. We stand for freedom of speech and non-censorship. If you also stand for free speech, you can go to tfrlive.com/signup and sign up for a TFR supporter pass and help us in our mission to keep the airwaves uncensored and unregulated. TFR Live, your uncensored and unregulated protection from the state.
The cause of Tiger Woods' February car wreck is revealed. I'm Sal G. in Grasso, Fox News. Tiger Woods was going nearly 90 miles per hour, twice the posted speed limit, on a downhill stretch of road when he lost control of an SUV outside Los Angeles in February.
The primary causal factor for this traffic collision was driving at a speed unsafe for the road conditions and the inability to negotiate the curve of the roadway. Estimated speeds at the first area of impact were 84 to 87 miles per hour, and the final estimated speed when the vehicle struck the tree was 75 miles per hour. There were no citations issued, and there are no signs of impairment.
That's Los Angeles County Sheriff Alex Villanueva. Woods has since been released from the hospital and is recovering from the accident. A use of force expert says former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin had his knee on George Floyd's neck the entire time that he was handcuffed behind his back and lying face down.
Los Angeles Police Sergeant Jody Steiger, a paid state expert, being cross-examined by defense attorney Eric Nelson after Steiger told jurors Tuesday that force should not have been used on George Floyd while he was in the prone position and handcuffed.
If you are an officer and you hear a scuffle on the radio, you hear we're taking one out, and you get dispatched in an emergent situation, it's reasonable for an officer to come in with a heightened sense of alertness and awareness.
Absolutely. Jurors are looking for beyond a reasonable doubt as the state expects to continue calling witnesses and experts to the witness stand. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
President Biden will unveil a series of executive actions aimed at addressing gun violence tomorrow, and the president says he's open to compromise on infrastructure, but not inaction. Not much movement one way or the other on Wall Street today as the Dow and S&P 500 notched modest gains and the Nasdaq fell slightly. America is listening to Fox News.
This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network. TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
Condition orange. Condition orange. Situation Delta in effect. Please enter your agent number now, followed by the hash key.
We have to create culture. Don't watch TV. Don't read magazines. Don't even listen to NPR.
Time comes when silence is betrayal.
More for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them.
Think for yourself. Question authority.
This code has been compromised.
All right, right, welcome back, True Seeker. It's the beginning of the second hour, meaning we got 2 hours left to show. We're taking your calls the rest of the way, but right now we got the always brilliant Rambo with us, and he was interrupted by the break. All right, we're back, friend.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
So also Anthony C. Davison, who's a brilliant decoder, I linked his Twitter. He made the link of supertanker with Suez crisis. The Suez crisis was a war. So that links the link between the Suez and war. In Gematria, supertanker and Suez crisis have a super match across 3 out of 4 base ciphers. Now, what happened yesterday, the primary boat in the brief Canal blockage, it was only like 10 minutes, but still happened, just 9 days after there was a huge blockage. We never heard of the canal being, all these years it was never blocked. Now it's blocked like twice in a 9-day period. But yes, the primary ship there was called Rumford, Rumford. Rumford is a perfect match in all 4 base ciphers with Scorpio. This clinches it as a Mars/Scorpio plus Nergal, that's the Sumerian Mars god associated with Scorpio, ritual. The name of the ship lining up with Scorpio this perfectly. It's not a coincidence. That pretty much clinches it. But there are other elements. The fact that Tuesday is the day of the week named after Mars, as we just said, 9/11 happened on Tuesday. Tuesday is Mardi in French. In English it doesn't sound like war, but it's in Latin. So Romance language like French, Mardi. Yeah, Martes in Spanish. That's Tuesday, associated with Mars. Both the original March 23rd grounding of the Ever Given and yesterday's incident with the Rumford and the Minerva Nike, both those incidents happened on Tuesdays, Mars days. The original Ever Given grounding occurred in March, and March is named after Mars as well. Both the Ever Given grounding and the Rumford and Minerva Nike incidents occurred in the tropical zodiac sign of Aries, and Aries is ruled by Mars. One of the ships that blocked the canal, the Minerva Nike, we talk about Minerva, part of the Capitoline triad of Rome, Minerva, but Nike is a Greek goddess, after which the shoe company is named. But the Greek goddess Nike is sometimes described as the daughter of Ares. Ares in Greek sounds like that's where you get Aries. Is the equivalent of the Roman Mars. So Nike is actually a daughter of Mars, and that's the ship's name. The ship's name Nike. The other one's named Rumford, which lines up with Scorpio perfectly. Is there any doubt this is a Mars ritual? So in Gematria, Mars has a value of 51, 57, and 15 primarily. Nergal, the name of the Sumerian Mars gods, Nergal comes to 57 and 105. 105 is like 15 in numerology. 0 has no value. Oil tanker also comes to 57, 105. Ningirsu, who's the other Mars god, associated with Aries, Ningirsu comes to 51 and 105. The Suez crisis, the second Arab-Israeli war, ended in 57. The date of the latest Suez Canal vessel blockage, which is yesterday, April 6th, 2021, has numerology of 51 and 15. These are all Mars numbers. 4 plus 6 plus 20 plus 21 is 51. Plus it also has 15 numerology. Also this date of April 6th leaves 269 days in the year. And 269 is the 57th prime number. Again, that's the big Mars number. So Tuesday, April 6th was a prime date for a Mars-related ritual. So again, that's it for the decode, but there are more layers to this. It's pretty amazing ritual. And I keep getting input from brilliant, listeners, callers, members of the community who keep finding more elements to it. So yeah, this is just part of it.
Yes, and again, Anthony C. Davidson, who you brought up, he does do very good work, as does Neo the Hacker. They're both two of the best commenters. Whenever I see them leave a comment, it's always really good. So, anything else, Rambo?
No, there was a caller a couple weeks ago. He came near the end of the show, and he mentioned that he said the Tower of Babel was actually in Canada, because in Canada there's a mountain which is called the Tower of Babel. Now at the time it didn't register, and he said there's a lot more that actually goes back to Canada but is actually attributed to, I guess, the Middle East area. But I do wish that I don't know if that caller is listening. I wish he would elaborate on what he meant about Canada being associated with this, because now I'm starting to see a lot of things which seem to line up with Canada. So I'm pretty curious what that caller was what we're talking about. He talked about the Tower of Babel, which is a mountain in Canada, and he believes Canada is related to a lot of these ancient stories, which I'd like to hear more about of his theory, because I am seeing some Canada symbolism. So I don't know if he's listening. I'd like to hear more. Hopefully.
I'm sure. I'm sure he will call in now that he heard you say that. So that's great. I appreciate it, Rambo. Yeah. Awesome work as always, friend. You have a good night.
I appreciate you too. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you take care. And yeah, it was a bummer because when they back up the website, it did eliminate some pictures, but not all. But it sounds like for whatever reason it took a toll on Rambo. So I already sent them a message if they could look into that and fix that. Let's go out to Austin, Texas. What's going on, Austin? Austin, hello.
Excellent decode, Zach.
Well, thank you.
Rambo, excellent decode.
Yes, indeed.
You're crazy, like a fox.